Hi, welcome again to Brunch and Belief. All right, here we talk about very, very difficult Christian questions whilst eating. That's it. That's literally what this is. And today I have someone, a friend, a guy. His name is Wisdom. All right, and he has some very interesting questions or an interesting question to ask. Before we start, do you solemnly swear that you will not go easy on me with your questions?
Try my best.
You will try your best. Okay, so I do this with everyone. Are you a coffee person or a tea person?
I'm a tea person.
What are some teas that you've had?
That I've had?
Just putting it out there that hot chocolate does not count as tea.
If I'm moving that out, then
They are not it's water.
I know. My
Arabian tea.
My dad takes Arabian tea. He tries to buy it low, and I'm like, why you guys buying all these teas? Like, just buy me Chameleon. Let's get out of here.
Okay. So, do you want to have hot chocolate today, or do you want to just try one of these teas that they usually buy?
I think you should recommend your best.
How about Lipton? You will like Lipton. you will like Lipton tea. Okay, I recommend Earl Grey. This.
Okay.
I think you might like it. If you don't like it, just pretend for the video. Thank you so much. All right. So when did you give your life to Christ?
I gave my life to Christ. I don't say it's a dicey question. But
Okay, you're not really giving it. They pretend.
So I was born into a Christian home.
Okay.
Christian.
So you were born again from the womb?
Not exactly, but I've always been in church. However, I went to missionary schools.
Okay.
All that, and then I remember let me say I had good morals in check.
Okay.
I had good morals in check. And I remember, I think my first moment of giving all those, I give my life to Christ today, I take it back tomorrow, and then next one day we do the same routine and over again. And then it's like, you and devil are just dragging the life. So basically, I remember my first my life was Christ, I think it was before a test. I was writing a test that day. I just that morning I was
Sorry,
like,
would you like some sugar?
yes. I
How
gave my
many?
life to Christ, just a little. 1 cube is enough for me.
Okay.
And then, I think the funny experience, why it was remarkable for me is I had given my life to Christ that morning, before, I think I was in SS1 at the time. And then in the evening, we had a test.
Okay.
And in the test, I had forgotten what I read. And I just said, Holy Spirit, help me. And you know when you're remembering something, but this one, it was as if someone was telling me what
There you go.
I had read. Thank you very, very much.
You can continue your story.
It was as if someone was telling me exactly what I read.
Mm-hmm.
I was hearing it. I was actually hearing it. Until I had
So the
finished
Holy
the
Spirit
definition.
helped you cheat in exams?
Not Divine Expo, actually. Let's call it that. So it was as if exactly what I had read, and then that was it. And it was mind-boggling for me. And then up to that and it should actually, like even in school at the end, you realize that towards the end of school, results and everything, final end, you see people that are actually quite the grades where it should. All those let you show that you do.
Did you finish with a first class?
I'm talking secondary school, but I finished with a separate.
Okay, the Holy Spirit left you after secondary school.
No, I was always good.
Okay.
I like to think I'm an intellectual.
Okay, you like to sing. Okay.
I think I'm an intellectual.
What was your course of study in school?
Electrical and Electronics Engineering in University of Ibadan.
Why did you emphasize on the University of Ibadan?
Because let it be there. University of Ibadan. It's not everybody's mate. So let's just.
Okay, no problem. No
But
problem.
then
So what did you graduate with?
I graduated with 2-1.
Okay, intellectual much.
Basically, but then in school, when I got into university, 100 level was, but I feel like at some point it became just, now I was no longer with my parents, I was on my own. And then it became like a chore. Like the whole Christian thing became like a chore.
Okay.
I was no longer, I remember there were times where I was no longer going to church.
Okay.
I wouldn't go to church in like a month or 2 months. I would go to church like once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at some point, it's not as if I would come and eat. It's just that it's kind of those people that
You
just
didn't
don't
care
care
again.
Exactly. You believe there was God.
Mm-hmm.
You just did not care again. Mm-hmm. And my life was slowly spoiling.
Okay.
Not slowly, maybe rapidly, but it was.
It was fast.
It was fast.
Okay.
And then at the time, a church came into the regional school. This was 2020, that 2020 or 2021.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, actually my cousin had invited me. Like, okay, this church, it's a good church. They will come into Ibadan. And so I forgot. However, I was on my school gate. I was at my school gate, and then I saw them evangelizing. And the first question that he asked me, I can still remember the person, and he asked me was, if Christ should come now, are you going to heaven? And I said, I hope so. And he told me that it's not a matter of you don't hope to go to heaven. You don't know you're going to heaven.
Or you don't, yeah.
And it was like a light bulb moment for me. And it's still one of
please, you can have some bread with your tea.
I will. And it was really like a light bulb moment for me because at the time I had not known about assurance of salvation.
Okay.
And eventually, when I started going to the church, I started learning. I was like, how didn't I know
all of this? Yeah.
I've been a church boy all the while. How come I didn't know all of this assurance of salvation? Even the gospel, basically. Okay. It was, how didn't I know that? I just had to believe. I didn't have to
work for it.
Like it was. I feel like it was just God's intervention and God's time. Because even in the first time, I feel like what first kept me in church was worship. Okay. Because I sing. So what first kept me, and I was like, this is good. This is good worship and all that. And then, however, staying prayer, and then
you basically became a solid Christian.
Became a solid Christian. So that's the
okay. Sharp. So I do have a question for you, but you know what? Time. You said you had a question for me, and you promised not to go easy on me. So what's the question? Okay. So my question is it's not a simple question. It has different expressions. Yeah, okay. People face this in different phases of their life. My question is, okay, I'm a young person. Are you sure?
I hope so. People don't think I think like
honestly, you don't, but carry on.
So basically, I just recently graduated from university, finally, thank God. But then, it's as if there are a lot of options. But that's not the point. My point now is, how do you make decisions? And I'll explain the question because it seems vague. However, it's actually a very particular question. Because now, for example, I said I'm an intellectual person. And then there's my inclination to say, okay, I'm an intellectual person. The next thing for me is fast. Let me go to my master's. Let me chill. All of that. However, you know that your life is not exactly yours to make certain decisions just like that. But then you live in a country where you're like, if I don't take certain decisions, my life might spoil. Because you look at, okay, the economy and everything, and you're like, so I'm like, how do you make this? Because you're like, let me just give you a scenario, perfect scenario. Okay, so let's say you graduate from university and you feel like, okay, where you are now, I want more. You want more, and then you're like, the country you are limits you. Let's say you're in Nigeria, for example, typical example. It limits you. And like, okay, so do I go and do my master's abroad? And you're like, but you can't just stand up and go. And even though you choose to just go, okay, let's say you prayed a bit and you believe this, and you didn't particularly hear. So you're not like, I didn't hear God tell me, should I go or should I not go? So how do I navigate all of that? Okay.
So I think I will start by saying something that we always say in church. In the absence of obvious leading, let wisdom guide you. It's funny that your name is Wisdom. In the absence of obvious leading, let wisdom guide you. And what does that mean? I think it was Kenyon that said that God gave us brains to give him rest. All right. And that's such a profound statement because a lot of Christians romanticize the spectacular. So we like the vision. God called me in a vision. I wanted to travel abroad, and then like 6 different people had a dream about me, in the UK. And so that's how I know I'm supposed to be in the UK. But there are many occurrences and experiences in your life where you're not going to have that experience. Do you like the tea?
It's good.
Okay, good. Where you're not going to have that experience, but there is wisdom to guide you. And I think that a very good way to allow wisdom guide you is by answering some questions. I think the first question is, what can I do? What can I do? That is such an important question because you have to know what options you have at your disposal, right? Before you start making moves and start judging. So, for instance, you mentioned I finished school and I want to go and do my master's abroad. Can you though? Do you have the resources? Do you have the capital? Like, even if your parents don't directly have the money, do you have the capital? So in terms of human relationships, are there strings you can pull to achieve it? I see a lot of people, do you want to go and do your master's abroad, then you start a GoFundMe. That annoys me.
I think it does.
It annoys me. And the reason why it annoys me is the people who are donating, they can't go abroad.
I'm like, I mean,
they don't have phone to
what am I going to
like what do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, does it mean that you don't have the freedom to start a GoFundMe? You can do, by all means, but start by asking yourself, what can I really do? Meaning, what are the resources at my disposal? What are the parameters that I have to choose from? Do you get? And then the second question is, why? Why? So I can go abroad, but why must I go abroad? Because again, you have, and I like that you used this traveling for masters as a specific example. Because again, a lot of people go abroad to escape reality, not really to furthering their studies is a secondary outcome of what they really went there to do, which is to buy time, to just, push the decision to take charge of my life to the future. So if I finished school, now I'm supposed to take charge of my life, I'm supposed to take charge of my future. But then a lot of people would run away from that responsibility because it is scary, you see, and then they end up pushing that forward by saying, you know what, I'll just add 2 more years of school, 2 more years of masters, and that's it. That's how I'm just going to live my life and go forward, So why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I want to make this particular decision? Why do I want to go in this direction? And remember, I'm answering assuming that you haven't heard a word from the Lord. You know what I mean? Because a lot of Christians like to seek out the word from the Lord because it absolves them of the responsibility of their decisions, So if I go and do it and it didn't work out well, it was God that said I should do it, not me. That's not really what I wanted, you see. But many times God is not going to have an opinion. Many times God is not going to say anything. Many times He's going to leave you to choose by wisdom. And you start by asking, what can I do? Why am I doing what I am doing? The third is this is not really a question, but it's a realization that life is unfair. You know what I mean? Life is not fair. And what that means is sometimes, despite your best plans and your best calculations, things won't work out the way you want them to work out. And so I must never approach the future with this, it must be this way or else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we must approach the future with a kind of malleability and flexibility that allows us to navigate through difficult circumstances and difficulties easily. The reason why a lot of people are broken by difficulties is because they were rigid in the first place. You can't break what is not rigid. You know what I mean? You can't break glass because it is rigid. And so that rigidity leads them to disappointment eventually. And so the realization that life is not fair, things will not always work out the way I want them to go, is part of the decision-making process. The fact that I can make this decision and it won't work out fine. Because there was something you said while you were asking the question that is indicative of the problem. When you said, there are some decisions that I know if I make, my life will spoil. There is no guarantee that if you make those other decisions, you will not still arrive at the spoilage of life. Are you there? Mm-hmm. So there's no, of course there are right paths to take, but then there is still uncertainty. And so we must take those right paths knowing that there is the certainty of uncertainty. There is the fact that we can't really, like the one thing we are certain about is that we are not certain. Do you get? And so, this must be the Christian's outlook to life. A lot of Christians are afraid of pain and suffering. And it's that fear of pain and suffering that gives them decision paralysis. It stops you in your tracks from making decisions. But you find that the person who accepts that pain is a part of life, suffering is part of the human experience, and so I will just navigate life, right, without expecting that life will be rosy and there will be no suffering in my future. And if I do meet suffering, when I do meet it, I will solve that problem. When you find someone who operates like that, you find that they make decisions quicker. They are ready to move forward. So what can I do? Why am I doing what I am doing? And the realization that life is uncertain and there's pain and suffering as part of my journey. And the decisions I make right now will not necessarily remove the pain and suffering. Of course, there's pain and suffering that comes certainly from bad decisions. All right, that's not what I'm talking about. But then there are pain and you have pain and suffering that comes in spite of good decisions, and that's you must live with the certainty that that's a part of your Christian and human experience. If you have these three things, you will make decisions better. What do you think?
I think it's profound because I feel like this plays out generally just in the human life, like not just in this step. It plays out in career, in marriage.
Yes.
Because it's same thing in career where people say, I don't know what I want to do. And then they say, okay, maybe I'm waiting for God's leading. I feel that sometimes when we say we're waiting for God's leading, it's just
they're just
fear.
pushing the decision forward.
It's just basically fear, and you saying, because sometimes you're not actively praying,
Yes.
you're not actively doing anything.
Yes.
You're just saying, I'm waiting for God's decision.
You know what's funny? God may have already led. For many of these people, sometimes God has already told you what to do, but it is not what you think you want to do. So there is a decision you want to make. You are afraid of making that decision. But then when the Lord tells you, okay, make this other decision, that's not what you want to make. And you're like, you know what, I'm still waiting on God's leading. That happens a lot. And so a lot of people use God. God is the great cop-out. They use God to push decisions forward. You know what, God, now your hand is there. I'm not making this decision anymore. That's irresponsible. Anyway, hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me on this
very
episode.
Much,
I think that's all. And here is what we'll be talking about next. Do you want sugar?
Yes, please.
How many?
Just one.
So you know how much sugar but you don't know when you give your life to Christ?
Hey! I was at church and this pastor was preaching and he said, if you're here and you're a Christian and you don't know your birthday in relation to like the day you give your life to Christ, you are not really a Christian. I think people subconsciously put not just the pastor, but his entire family on a pedestal.
Yes.
And they forget that you're human. So they expect you to meet more than their expectations.
Okay. At its core, evangelism is human relation. And I think that the place of the Christian doctor is encouragement. The realization that I can heal your body, but God can do much more. He can replace what I can't replace.
Yes.
He can solve problems that I can't solve. I can diagnose, but he can treat.
Right.